Welcome to the Mike Clegg YouTube channel. I'm really pleased today to introduce you to Hans Hansen. Hello Hans.
Hello.
So on this segment it's obviously the topical football segment, and Hans has joined me from Norway. He's got his own company, he's got his own Twitter feed and Instagram and Facebook, so please have a look at that, and that is Busby Babes Norge. So Hans, let's talk about football this week then. We obviously built it up last week as possibly being one of the biggest games of the season. Man United actually playing Liverpool. It's a classic game. We know Alex Ferguson and all the fans looked at that game as being almost like a bigger derby than actually playing against Manchester City. So what were your thoughts on the game?
I actually thought it was quite it was an intense game, but wasn't really any chances, maybe one to each team. The atmosphere was brilliant. It was the best I've heard in Old Trafford for years.
So you was there, yeah?
Yeah. It's right in Stratford End. 10 years. Keep going.
Good, so obviously you got to a lot of the games then, and you felt like this game, the atmosphere was really quite intense.
Yeah. But there in the Stratford End, it's been quiet for most part of the season because of Mourinho. But since Ole came and with the Liverpool game, it was just.
So he's obviously a big Ole fan. He's from Norway. Do you know Ole? Have you met Ole before?
I met Ole a couple of times. He's a brilliant guy.
Yeah? How did you manage to meet him?
Just spoke Norwegian to him, basically outside of Old Trafford. Yeah, anybody speak Norwegian, we'll have a chat.
Excellent. So yeah, the game was 0-0. It was interesting. It was probably built up a little bit too big, really. The game wasn't really that good. I thought Liverpool gave a terrible showing, really. To say they're going for the title first time in God knows how many years, I don't really think they performed at their highest. I'm sure Jurgen Klopp was quite disappointed. I think they only had one shot on goal. And ultimately, I think United at the end, they possibly could have won it. There was a decent cross in, and Smalling should have scored. I'm sure you was on the edge of your seat at that moment. Yeah,
definitely. I just thought if Lukaku would have scored, or a striker, he would have gone for it, you know, Rashford. But since Smalling is a defender, he's not expecting the ball to drop there, and that's why he had scored.
Yeah, and that's obviously why he's a defender, and if it was a forward, I'm sure they would have made a bit better chance of it. And then obviously Super Sunday, the game after was Manchester City against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. Did you watch that game?
And I only watched bits and pieces at Hotel Football, but we got the extra time and the penalty shootout and all the drama.
Yeah. Well, I mean, drama was big at the end, but the game itself, again, a bit like the United game, was probably over heightened. Obviously, it's a cup game. Some people don't think it's an important cup, but ultimately, it's still a trophy. And as we know, Manchester City went on to win that in penalties, and it was a boring game, really, in many instances. But right at the very end, the drama certainly got heightened. And what was your take on the issue? And obviously, if you didn't see it, it was the case of where Kepa, the goalkeeper, the Chelsea goalkeeper, went down a couple of times with cramp or some type of issue, and then the manager, well, basically miscommunication. So how did you see it from your angle?
Well, I thought when the manager decides to do a substitution, he's in the right to do so. I think Kepa should have been coming off. Caballero was on the side getting ready. He's brilliant on penalties. I think he would have won the game for Chelsea in penalties. It was just bizarre, the situation with Sarri storming off and Kepa refusing to go off. It's just ridiculous, really. It just makes a mockery of the football club.
Us being Man United and looking at Chelsea as a club who just got themselves in trouble last week, we discussed about the transfer embargo, where they're not going to be able to transfer players. You look at the situation with Pep and Sarri, the communication. You know, the club's in a bit of an awkward moment at this moment in time. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure on the manager going into that game, thinking if he loses, he could potentially lose his job. But you just see that mess what happened. And for me, I spoke about this on LinkedIn and Twitter. I actually think the goalkeeper was in the right. The young goalkeeper, 21, whatever age he is, of course, he gets a little bit of a niggle, a bit of cramp. It's the last minute, in extra time. He's got an opportunity where goalkeepers in general are not going to be make too many mistakes in the actual penalty shoot. He's got a chance of winning. So he wants to stay on, of course he wants to stay on. The manager, he's making a big fuss, and to me it looks like he threw his dummy out of the pram, so to speak, but he never actually put the board up. The board did go up and it said 1 for 1 minute extra time, but he never put his number up so the goalkeepers would swap around. and he stormed off, and they didn't leave properly, and I just feel I'm pleased, and for me, you guys, you send in your comments and let's discuss this. I think Kepa, young player, wants to stay on the pitch to be in a cup final. Brian Robson used to do that. Roy Keane would do that. Yeah, the Chelsea guy does it, and suddenly he's not listening to the manager. The board didn't go up, and I guarantee you, if you put the board up, by the law, you've got to come off. So otherwise, he would have got booked, and then he would have been sent off. But he didn't. So for me, Sarri, weak. The referees needed to nail that. Whatever happened there, it's the referee's fault. But ultimately, and the young goalkeeper stayed on. Brilliant for him. You see so many times where young players are coming off. We're all saying about professional footballers are a little bit weak these days. He was willing to stay on through the pain barrier, and good for him. And that's what it should do. And ultimately, if the manager wants him off, you put up the board and be a true manager. So that's my sorry. Yeah. And that's nice that you had your opinion. Right? So what are your thoughts on that? What I've just said.
Well, I agree with you to some extent, but everybody knew it was gonna do the substitution. Caballero was on the side. Whether the board came up, the board should have been up, but still, respecting the manager or the club when he's not doing it. But just imagine if that were Mourinho, what would the stories be afterwards?
However, I would say this: I've never seen somebody come off without the board coming up, so I've not seen that before. So I don't know whether that's the first time in history where somebody's expected to come up without the board coming off. So for me, I think you're wrong. However, let's move on. So a big game in midweek for Man United again. It was an interesting game, especially after the Liverpool game. Tough game against Crystal Palace. We know how good Wilfried Zaha is. And ultimately, it could have been an awkward game. United took the lead. Yeah. Lukaku scored. Great goal. I thought Shaw did really well, set him up, finished it really well. Did you like that goal?
It was brilliant because Lukaku had a brilliant first touch. Like one of the few in his career. Brilliant first touch. And then he could just throw it. And then he just turned it into the far corner. I think it was brilliant. And as you said, Luke Shaw, before the goal, run past 3 or 4 defenders. Gives to Lukaku and just hits the back of the net easy. Looks like he's been practicing on his finishing. Yeah,
it was a great goal. He slotted it in really nice. Second goal, he gets in behind the defence and whacks it in, and suddenly you think it's going to be quite an easy game. But I actually thought Crystal Palace put up a good fight after that. The second half, I was a bit worried they scored the goal. And how did you see that segment?
After we went 2-0 up, you were expecting us to maybe go for 3 or 4. That's the way we've been playing lately. But Palace was really in it, and when they got the goal back, it looked closer to being 2-2 than we were to win 3-1.
Yeah, it was close. I was watching again thinking it would be a shame to be 2-0 up and let that slip. Yeah. But again, good character by the lads. Ashley Young scored a good goal, smacked it in, didn't he, to make it 3-1. That just took the nerves down, and that was a really quite important goal. And within that game, James Garner made his debut. Young player, 17. I've obviously been doing a little bit of punditry for MUTV. I've seen him play a couple of times for the under-23s. He's a good player. Yeah. And United have got a few injuries at this moment in time, and he got his opportunity. And what's your thoughts on James Garner as a young player? I've
seen him last season in the under-18s, and he dominated midfield. This season under-23s, he's been good. He's been out with a few injuries, but he was also good in pre-season for the first team when he got the chance in America. And he has every potential in the world to be a Man United midfielder. His calmness with the ball, the way he passes, and just the way he reads the game, that's something you can't. He's born with it,
Yeah, he's definitely got a lot of talent, and he's got all them things. His physicality is something I'm sure he'll start working on, because it's a bigger, stronger league, and that will be one-sided after really sort of adapt to.
Yeah, definitely.
So again, well done James Garner, and hopefully more lads will get their debuts. Then moving forward, you've obviously come over last night from Norway. Yeah. You come to every home game.
Every home game.
That's not a bad life, is it?
Well, it's okay. Going to Man United, try to get to your ways every season as well.
And when you're over here, you do like some type of podcast, you do your Facebook Live, all this type of stuff?
Yeah, live broadcast every day on Facebook.
Okay, and what's your normal content with that?
Talking about the news and the next game and the previous game and everything Man United.
Excellent. So any Norwegian people in the country not subscribed to Hans, please do that. So yeah, the big game against Southampton on tomorrow will be an interesting game. Possibly a game where we all expect now, with the run of form we're on, that we should go and win that game. But I think we've still got to start right with the right intention, eh?
Yeah, because we still have many injuries, and Southampton is struggling. They're gonna be up for it because they need some points to survive in the league, and well, it's gonna be a tough game.
It's a tough game. We know these games. These are ones, if you take the scuff of the neck, you know, you've got a right chance of winning, and winning convincingly, really. You know, and that sort of brings us on now to this segment, which I always do every week. I have an angel and a devil. So I think we'll start off with the angel, because it just rolls on from what we just said about James Garner and about Ollie, your countryman, that's the word. He's the first time that Man United have ever won 8 games on the bounce. Away. What a record that is, eh?
It's brilliant. Unbelievable, really. You wouldn't believe it after we lost against Liverpool in December. No. Go away and win 8 games in a row.
And who knows how far that might continue, so we wish him all the best with that. And the other record he's actually won, he's got the most points tally in 10 games. So he just took over Ancelotti's record of 25, and Ollie's now got 26 points in 10 games. That's quite incredible, eh?
Yeah, only drew at home to Burnley and Liverpool. Just incredible start, really.
That's incredible. And also, I mean, you know the stats better than me than this, so you can tell everybody listening. What's the record since 1937 now regarding the games consecutively where there's always been somebody who's come through the youth system?
It's been in every game since October 1937, either on the bench or starting from our academy. James Garner was the 230th graduate, so roughly half of everybody's playing for Man United since the war.
I mean, that's incredible stats. And so think about that. It's the highest by far of any of the professional teams. 230 graduates through the academy coming through. Luckily enough, I was one of them one day. But again, I think it's only something like 238 players they bought in. That's an incredible stat, and you know, and that's one of the things why Man United is such a world brand, and why Man United believes in its youth and always bringing us back to that. So again, that's absolutely amazing, and you know, long may that continue, and maybe with a few injuries we've got, the likes of Gomez and Chong and Garner will get more games, so we'll keep a watch out for that. So my devil for this week, however, and it's going back to that point again, and I'm controversial. I think it's Sarri. The Chelsea manager. I just think he was a bit weak. I think he storms off, and I hate all that. You want to be professional, and if your manager's not professional, what signal is that going all the way down to the rest of the team? And even in your workplace where you are, if your manager acted like that because one of your plumbers or one of your electricians didn't fit something quite right, you know, there's not a way to behave. So for me, Sarri is absolutely the devil of the week. But please send in your thoughts, and I want to create a little debate about this, you know?
Yeah, well, as you say, the way he behaves, Sarri, I still think he should be doing the substitution, but Sarri is going to be sacked in the end of the season if he lasts that long. The
only problem is, I mean, maybe because of the I think they're appealing the transfer embargo, so they might have one big shot of maybe getting a new manager and spending a lot of money on players, because it might get offset. But yeah, it'd be interesting that. But if you get rid of Sarri now, who's going to come into Chelsea where there's going to be more money if the embargo is in place? So Chelsea are in a bit of a pickle. So that's very interesting.
But you know who Abramovich turns to every time he has a pickle? Mourinho.
Yeah, you never know. So what's next space? Maybe Mourinho might be back at Chelsea, and the old four will be back. So listen, Hans, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I just want to say thank you to Mark O'Connor. Mark introduced me to Hans. Mark's the chairman of the Australian New South Wales Supporters Club, Man United, and has been a great help in this association, and it's definitely a supporters club which is well renowned and world renowned as well. So thanks to Mark, and again for Hans, look at him for Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and it's lovely to buy these tops, by the way. It's the Busby Babes Norge. Thank you, Hans.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.